Welcome to One Goofy Garage, or should I say One Goofy Driveway? Because we haven't done anything in the carport or the garage yet. Anyways, let's talk about this. If you're new here, right next to me is my $1,000 auction win Subaru Outback 2013 3.6R limited, leather interior, Harman Kardon stereo system, everything including a 5-speed automatic transmission that in this video we're going to fix. However, I do want to warn you. As you can see, I'm in different clothes than the rest of the video. I'm in a very wrinkly Super Mario Brothers shirt. I made the biggest mistake possible. Well, that ain't the biggest mistake possible, but I made a mistake. When you're recording YouTube videos and you're a new content creator, there should be a little sign that you put on your device or whatever you're recording with that says, keep it in horizontal mode. Many of the parts of this video I accidentally recorded because I'm so used to doing sometimes the shorts and reels, I had it vertical. So I apologize that at some parts of this video you're going to have to put up with the video flipping, but I won't do that for very long. I just want you to see portions of this repair job. It is not that hard. In fact, I watched another YouTuber who recorded himself doing this repair and pretty much used his video to make this happen. So I'm telling you what. So we live near the Atlanta airport. That is the 5th plane that has come over in the past 3 or 4 minutes. They don't call it the busiest airport in the world for nothing. My goodness. Anyways, so let me give you a little bit more history on this car and then we'll get into the video. Bought it on auction for $1,000. Came to me. 2 knock sensors had to be replaced. We did that ourselves. Had a little bit of moisture on the carpet. We dried it out. We ozoned it. Car smells good. Wasn't that bad. I cleared the sunroof drains. It's been great. I replaced the Harman Kardon amp in there, and then as we were driving around, we noticed that sometimes, occasionally, the 2-3 shift would have a bang, man. It was a very noticeable. I mean, you would feel like you got bumped in the back end. So I had it sent to a very reputable shop, which I highly recommend you take your Subaru to. 6-star services in Atlanta. If you're in the Atlanta metro area, and I know people come from all over to have their Subaru worked on, they took care of this car for me. They drove it, but the reality was it had no codes. It was hard to diagnose. I was having trouble diagnosing it, which is why I sent it there. No fault of theirs. Same kind of theory I had. We're just going to have to wait to see what happens. So 3 to 4 days after I get the car back, I had them change the oil and the transmission fluid. I took my daughter to go get ice cream and it popped the code. The code I thought was going to happen finally. P1710 Turbine Speed Sensor 2. You see what I'm saying? There's another plane already. So I had already bought the parts for that. And this video is going to include that repair work. So I apologize again for some of these video portions being vertical and making, that's just one of those things that I'll have to remember to do. Part of the issue is I'm recording on my phone primarily, and I just need to go ahead and buy myself a Insta360 or one of their models, or a Hero or something like that. Or GoPro, not a Hero. I'm telling you what. So anyways, enjoy the video. I will link the video of the video that I watched on YouTube of a different person doing this repair if you're interested in repairing your Subaru. So I've taken it for several miles. We'll show a little clip of that in this video. We'll show a little clip of some of the other things that I found along the way. I appreciate you subscribing and liking, and I appreciate. All right, we got it up on its ramps, and hopefully you can tell why I did that, because now I've got a lot of space under there, which I'm not claustrophobic, but when you get under a car for a long period of time, it's just, I don't know, maybe I'm a little claustrophobic. And as my kids say, sometimes, I think that, what's the new phrase? What's up, big back? Man, I'm losing weight, but I'm still big back, I guess. So all that extra space will do me good. So we'll get some rags, we'll get some gloves, we'll get some stuff to wipe up any spills, and we'll work through that. One thing that we're gonna do here is we're gonna be using these drain pans and I just had the fluid changed. So normally, if this pan, depending on how bad that is, and I'll look at the other one too, I'd like to be able to just reuse what I drain out because it literally has 10 miles on it. But we'll see. I also have 15 quarts of brand new fluid. I think I might just use the new fluid because that looks like it's got some crud in it, and the last thing you want to do is get any of that in your transmission when you put it all back together. So my understanding is I need a 14, well, anyways, I'll tell you what, let me not guess. Let me get some stuff set up and we'll get under there. And yeah, boy, I tell you what, this is not a bad height actually too, to work on some of the other stuff so you're not bent over. I think we'll do that next time. It's a good little, oh, you know what else I gotta do? I gotta get those wheels chalked. Let me get that all done and then we'll get set up and we'll get working on this. All right, so getting under the $1,000 Subaru here. Looks like our front cover is a pretty common leak on the Subarus. Got a little oil seepage, and at some point somebody didn't put a crush washer on there, so I think that might have been leaking a little bit. But the shop that changed the oil for me, they got me hooked up with a crush washer. But today we're gonna be working back here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out that drain plug, we're gonna get the fluid drained, we're gonna take out all the drain bolts, or excuse me, the pan bolts, which some of them look a little rusted if you ask me. Some of them looking a little rusty. This car came from up north, but this is a good bit of space here for me to work in. So I'm gonna get some of this taken care of, get it started, and then we'll once I get this drained, what I'm gonna be doing is pulling this pan off, and then we'll get the valve body out. And then once we get the valve body out, I'll share some more video footage. Yeah, this is gonna be super fun. Should I have had a shop do this? Hindsight's always 20/20. We're into it now. Let's go. Oh, you know, just waiting. So what I've started to do, which these, even though these bolts look rusted, it's just surface. They weren't tight at all. I was able to get them off real easy. Once this is done draining some more, I'll get the rest off. But here's my recommendation, just because I've done these style oil pans before. So this car sloped a little bit back toward the rear wheels being lower. So that is the side of the pan that I'm gonna pull off first to let residual drain out of here. So you can loosen these bolts back here, but don't take them all the way out. Leave them in by a few threads, you know, finger tight in a few threads, so that when you release that, because this is on with RTV sealant, it doesn't have a gasket, so it's gonna pop really quick when you finally get it to release. So that being the case, you don't want this whole pan just dropping all of a sudden, because you're gonna make a big mess, right? So leave these a little loose. We'll take the rest of them off, and then we'll pop this pan down to drain it into the drain pan. I hate that I'm having to toss this fluid, but to be honest, I'm only getting about 4 quarts out of the pan, maybe a little more. When I pull the valve body, I'm gonna get a lot more, and I'd like to just have as much fresh fluid in there as possible. Even though this fluid looks, I mean, to be honest, it looks really, really good. So I'm gonna let this sit here and drain for maybe another 5 minutes or so, until it gets to where it's just a drip, and then I'm gonna take on getting the rest of this off, getting this off, and then I'll show you what it looks like with the pan off, so you can see what the valve body looks like. There's just a few connectors to disconnect. All right, back in a few. Okay, so got all the bolts off. I've already dropped this side of the pan. What I want to show you is when you're trying to get this pan off, it's a little tight because of the gasket. Well, there's a little corner right there specifically for putting a screwdriver in, and you can put it, twist it, and it'll pop this end off. Super easy. All right, pan is off. So get this valve body out, you're going to take out these black screws, okay, as you go around. And you got a few connectors to get off. That one here, these couple of here. And there's going to be more fluid, okay? So one thing that I bought, got the pan obviously. This is a piece of fabric that helps absorb fluid. So if you're working on your driveway, obviously you put cardboard down, but these mats are really, really nice. They're not super expensive, and honestly, if you get a bunch on it, just throw it away. All right, so we're gonna keep taking this thing apart. Don't unhook any of this stuff here, right? It's just these main connectors. And then that's just a little piece of metal that kind of holds that in. Hopefully that was pretty straightforward for you to see, but you can see how that loosens up. So that's the main one. And then I think there's one more that we have to get. I'll have to go back and look at my notes, but anyways, all right, soon to be out. All right, so I set up a table out here because what we're gonna do, I have two of those oil absorbing mats. I want a clean surface to put the valve body on because I have to do some soldering. I'm also keeping the valve body bolts to the side so they don't get any crud on them. But I want to show you inside this pan real quick. There is a little bit of product on here. So it's not terrible. It's at 140,000 miles. So I expect to see some. And of course it's a 2013, right? So it's still 12 years old. That doesn't concern me as bad because that's just a little clutch material breaking down. However, randomly seeing a piece of something means that probably one of those shock shifts caused something to break. Now it seems to be shifting fine when everything's okay, so I'm hoping that whatever this little piece is holds together for a little while. But I'm going to clean this pan out. We're going to clean the edge of the material, gasket material off. And when you use this style gasket material, when you put it first put it on there, you can't just stick this on there and bolt it on and just go to town. You have to set it, lightly tighten the bolts, let it start to ooze out and cure, and then it's really about 24 hours before they want you to really put the fluid in there. So that's why a job like this, if you do it correctly, can take more than just one evening, even though it seems like it could be fast. All right, so that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to get this cleaned up, and then we'll finish getting the valve body out, bring it over, resolder it, get it back in the car, put this pan on, let it set overnight, and then tomorrow we can do some fluid. Sweet. Like it when a plan comes together. I'm a little concerned about that little piece right there, though. Hopefully there's just well, I don't know. I'm not going to make up any assumptions. We're just going to fix it, put it all back together, and hopefully what we do makes it happen. All right, let's get it. All right, got the valve body out. And when you flip the valve body over, this is Turbine Speed Sensor 2, held on by a 10mm bolt. So this is the one that I got. I saw good reviews on, and you'll see it matches the colors. So I'll put this here, we'll splice it in here, and then we'll heat shrink it, obviously, put it all back together, put the valve body in, and we should be good from there. So all in all, getting this out isn't hard. Putting this back in and getting it all connected will not be necessarily hard either. I think the hardest part of this job is making sure you get that pan cleaned up. You can see, I think that whoever owned this car before me, you can see a little bit of that shiny material. So I'm hoping that this holds us for obviously a couple years, but if it doesn't, we may be looking at a transmission replacement or a valve body. I say I'm not concerned, but I keep looking at it. That's a good bit of clutch material for 140,000 miles. Makes me wonder if this has been acting up for a while and whoever was driving this was just clearing the codes and putting up with it. I don't know. It's hard to put up with because it goes into limp mode, so maybe not. Anywho's, we're going to work on this, and we'll do that, the sensor, and then we'll get that done over here and put it all back together, and then we'll wait a little bit of time before we can put fluid back in it, and hopefully we get it fixed. So anyways, let's get to work. All right, it took me longer than I expected because my solder gun was having issues, but I got it, the new one in, and got it soldered in. The only thing is, once you solder it and put some heat shrink in here, it is hard to get the original harness to go back completely over, at least in my case, because I think some of my solder was a little bit thicker than expected, and I've got some wires here. Now obviously, you know, it's not uncommon to have exposed wires. What I was looking for was to make sure that it wasn't touching any, you know, any of these valves or solenoids or anything, and it's not. So I'm going to put it back together like this. I think we're going to be okay. I think it's going to work out. So I got to get this back in. I'm losing daylight, and then I'll work on this pan. I really would like to get that pan up there tonight so that nothing gets in this valve body. So anyways, let's keep going on this. You can hear my sigh of desperation. It's not a desperation sigh, it's a, wow, that was a little bit more frustrating than I expected with the soldering gun acting up on me. So anyways, all right, we're gonna put it back in. Let's go. Well, the valve body's back in, but this part right here, getting this gasket off is a real pain when you realize that your wheel is not working. So I've scraped off the vast majority of that RTV with or I guess you could say the high spots, with a razor blade. Because my Ziz wasn't working, I happen to have a battery terminal brush which has some pretty stiff bristles on it. So that is what I'm going around and using to get the rest of this off. I'm not going to make you watch that, but what I can tell you is that the valve body is back in. It's torqued down, and now I'm trying to put the first coat of RTV on here because I want to close the transmission up. I don't want to leave it open all night, just in case, you know, some wind or something blows some dust up in there. Anyways, some spider decides he loves automatic transmission fluid. So anyways, we're going to continue this, and then we're going to do the RTV, and we're going to put this on there, and then I am going to have to let that sit for long enough that I won't be putting fluid in the car until tomorrow. So it's one of those things where when you look at the back of this, you're like, doggone, man, I don't want to have to wait that long. Allow 24 hours to fully cure before filling with fluids. Well, shoot. So that might even be a safer bet on Sunday to put it in. Well, no, hold on. If today's, I can't do math. I tell you what, let me finish this and we'll get back to the video later. Okay, let me tell you, getting that RTV off, I always forget that you can put some gasoline like on a paper towel and set it on there and it'll help it come off. I've got basically all of the major stuff off. So I'm gonna, you know, there's still some spots, but there's plenty of coverage here that I don't think I'll have a leak. And if I end up with a leak because these little areas here are causing problems, I'll drain the fluid and I'll re-RTV it and start over. But let's hope it's not the case. So we'll RTV around, obviously, and then we'll follow the directions on the back to a T because we want this to seal as best as possible on the first go. Let's do it. Right, so the cover, transmission drain pan cover. Oh my goodness, I told you today I'm just losing my mind. Anyways, so transmission drain pan is back on. Currently it's setting for about 30 more minutes before I can actually torque it down. But I want to show you something, and you okay, so my wife comes out and she goes, what is this? Why is the car hooked up to I don't get it. Like what? Like you're on jacks or ramps, you have a couple of cinder blocks that should be blocking the car from rolling. What is this? And I said, okay, look, honey, here's the deal. I said, it's probably not even helpful, but it makes me feel better. I'm taking a part out of the transmission, and I had a fear, as crazy as it sounds, I had a fear that I might accidentally bump it out of park and go into neutral or something, and the car, since it is a little bit on the hill here, tell you what, there's a can I zoom in on that guy? He's been flying overhead. I don't know, maybe he's trying to check out the old Subaru here. Maybe he's coming in for a little thievery tonight. But anyway, so she was cracking up because I've got this huge strap that I used to use to strap down heavy product in the back of my truck. And I just wanted it as a little bit of reassurance. This thing's concreted in the ground, right? And anyways, there's not a lot of tension on it, but it would have at least maybe given me a chance had this started rolling or something. I got the parking brake on. I got cinder blocks on both sides. There's a little lip on the front of those. And then the fail safe was the strap to the basketball goal. Anyways, so I'm kind of excited because this went a lot smoother except for the soldering and getting that stupid gasket off. But I am looking forward to putting this thing back on the road. Look at these hands. I mean, so you know, one of the things that happened is I have this it's a 20 quart. This is a 20 quart drain pan. Naturally, boop, guess what drops in there? You guessed it, a couple of bolts from the valve body, so I had to go fishing for those. Super fun. This tool set I bought 5 years ago. I have done almost every car repair with that tool set, a few other associated items. I think I paid like 59 bucks at Lowe's for that at a Black Friday sale. My table is a disaster now. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to clean up, and then I'm going to get under there and I'm going to torque all that. And then once I'm finished torquing all of that, I have to wait overnight for it to fully seal, to have the best seal. And then this car is pretty easy. Right down there, see that little yellow? Of course, this cover comes off, and I have a funnel that will fit right into that hole, and we will fill this bad boy up. Based on what I'm seeing from this draining, if you ever have to do this, so it is just a smidge below 10 quarts. I'm guessing we probably drained 8 or 9. So we'll start with 7, and then I'll go up from there. That's my plan. So anyways, all right, we're done for the evening, except for torquing that, and then we will look at this car. All right, back at you, day 2. So got the pan, put on the transmission, torqued, let that RTV last, cure over 24 hours. This is I've now converted this shirt into my full-time working on car shirt because I got transmission fluid all over it. I had a situation that happened under there. But we're gonna fill this up with the proper fluid, which this is a type HP ATF. You can get this one or you can get the Subaru one. It'll work. There's about 8 quarts that came out, but like I said, we're going to put 7 quarts in, and then we'll start it, get it up to temperature, monitor it. First of all, hopefully everything goes good and I didn't cause any other issues. And transmission fill plug, or you'll fill it through where you check the level on the Subaru. And what I have is a funnel. And it's a quick fill funnel, but it tapers down into a smaller end, and it's specifically for being able to put it into your boy, it's too early in the morning, I haven't had caffeine, where your dipstick tubes. There it is, finally got it. So let's get about 8 quarts poured in this. This won't take us but a minute. And yeah, let's see what happens here. That is at the top. So the job itself wasn't that bad. This waiting period for the RTV sealant feels like an eternity. But apparently there are some other brands that I could have used, but I used the Permatex, which requires 24 hours. So here we are, pouring in 5 quarts. These jugs are 5 quarts. I had to wait. I actually ended up waiting more than 24 hours. It's been about, because yesterday was had a lot going on. And we'll see. That's some nice looking fluid. So here's the deal. If what I did didn't work and I have to pull it out again, check it, whatever the case is, I will go and buy a new drain pan to let it, let it out into, so that I can keep the fluid. I mean, I can also completely wash and take care of those ones, but I don't want to lose this fluid, because this fluid is about, I think this bottle is about 50 bucks. So I'm putting about $75 to $80 worth of fluid in it. I don't want to lose it. I'm probably teaching bad habits by pushing that down, because you could accidentally break off a piece of that little skim cover there and get into the fluid. I always check. You really should probably cut those out, so don't take mine. All right, so we're at 5 quarts. We're going to go to 7, so we're going to come down to, we don't have a 5 quart mark, so it's 5. Okay, so we'll come down to the 3. Just checking how they have that label. Spit up a little bit. Now you don't want to come, you don't want to be severely under when you're filling, but you also don't want to be super over to where you have to drain some out, because not every transmission pan has a drain plug. Sometimes you're stuck with those transmission pans like I had on a Dodge Ram truck, where the only way to drain it is you take the pan out, so you have to like take some bolts out and let some drain out. So it's much better to know that you're coming just a little under and then get it right once you get this thing up to temperature. Got about another quart to go. All right, there we go, right at the mark. So make sure it's all drained. It has. Put this guy back in. And obviously I'm not checking the fluid right now. What I need to do is get the car cranked up and get it warmed up. So I'm going to do that, and we'll do some fluid checking. Right, got this thing all back together. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm going to clear these codes. I'm going to erase codes. Yes. And then We can go to the automatic transmission. We'll go back. Automatic transmission. Read codes. Stored codes. I'm going to go to Subaru again. Okay, so there's still the code. Obviously, we haven't driven it. We're going to go ahead and erase the code. All right. So, what we're going to do now is I want to see some live data. So we're going to go back. Oh, tell you what, I think I'm in the right area already. Yeah. So you go to diagnostics on this Ansel, then you go to your, hit enter, go to automatic transmission, live data, and unfortunately this one is not going to show me transmission temperature. So what I'm gonna have to do is get the free SSM out, plug in the VACCOM cable on the laptop, and see what the temperature is, because I'm trying to measure the amount of transmission fluid in it. And obviously you can do it on the cold dipstick side, but you don't want to do that during this refill. You want it to get up to temperature and you want it to be correct. So got the codes cleared. So it's funny, on a Subaru, whenever you get a check engine light, a lot of times like every other light comes on, like flashing brake, you'll get flashing cruise control, traction control, like you think the cars are about to blow up or something. I don't know why Subaru did that. In this case, we had check engine, automatic transmission fluid, a flashing brake light, a traction control light, and a flashing cruise light. So if you're the driver that's going down the road and doesn't really work on cars, or has, you know, everybody look at them and doesn't know anything about it, it cracks me up how much Subaru lights up on the dash. So what I'm going to do is let this sit here for a few more minutes. The good news is I moved it from over there to here, so we know the valve body works. And if I put it in reverse, it goes. Now getting into drive has a little bit of a delay, and then clunks, so I think we're not clunks, but like takes a second to engage. I think we're a little low on transmission fluid. All right, we'll be back here in a minute. Check out my daughter's, this is her friend that she's gonna have drive with her. All right, Maiden voyage, and ignore the flashing brake light. That'll go away once I restart the car. But see how it does here. We're on the 1-2 shift, 2-3 shift coming up where it normally happened. 2-3 shift was very smooth. In fact, that's just shifting smoother in general. I think that, yep, and kick down like it should. Yeah, I think we might have fixed it, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we may have fixed it. So I'm gonna pull it into the house here. I'm gonna let it sit for a few more minutes running, and then we're gonna check the transmission fluid. That felt really good. You subscribing and liking, and I appreciate all of you who have purchased any of the little products that I Amazon link, because I make a few pennies as an Amazon affiliate. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like. Until next time, keep wrenching.